Well, thanks very much for joining us for this short webinar. It is scheduled for 30 minutes, but we're going to be about half of that time if everything goes well. My name is Frank Thomas. My pronouns are he, him, and I am from Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. I'm one of Florida's co-chairs for the Governmental Relations Committee. I'd like my colleague to introduce himself as well.
Thanks, Frank. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richie Marini, and I serve as one of the Assistant Directors of Admissions from the University of South Florida. I'm also one of the Florida Government Relations co-chairs, and thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon.
So we just want to jump right into this because we want to use your time as economically as possible. All of the resources we're going to talk about today, as well as this recording and the slides that you see, are posted on the SACAC Hub. So you can log in there, download all of the documents, access all of the links that you see on the screen. We're going to talk about NACAC's 3 pillars of advocacy when it comes to working with elected officials, information on how to identify your legislator and how to contact their local office to set up this meeting, some tips on how to talk to your legislator and how to track bills in the legislature. You'll see on the screen here is a link to the SACAC Resource Hub. You can also just log in at SACAC's homepage and access resources, Florida, government relations advocacy to get to these materials. So when we want to start with the pillars of advocacy that NACAC has put forth so that we make sure that the things that you choose to speak with your representatives about are aligning with one of these pillars when you are representing SACAC. Our goal with this Legislative Advocacy Week in your hometown is for your representative to start to see you as the face of our professional organization. And so we want to give you some tips on aligning what you want to advocate for with those pillars of advocacy. And then we'll say something about what to do if you'd like to speak on your own behalf after you're done advocating for NACAC and for SACAC. So all of the issues that we advocate for with legislators and with public policy advocates need to align with one of these 3 pillars. The first is expanding access to post-secondary education, and that can come in all types and sizes. The second is support for our school counselors and for college advisors. One of the most recent examples is the Florida legislature's bill to reduce the student to counselor ratio in Florida's public schools down to 250 to 1. And the third is to increase funding for public education and financial aid at all levels. And in this case, it would focus on the funding that comes from the Florida legislature, for example, things like the EASE grant. So in order to advocate on behalf of SACAC during this advocacy week, we want you to align the issues that you're going to speak about with one of these 3 pillars. If you're having a challenge figuring out how to do that alignment, reach out to Richie or to me, and we'll be happy to help you make that alignment. In just a second, we'll talk about setting up that meeting, but at this point, I'll mention that if you want to take advantage of this time with your legislator to talk about things that are important to you as well as a local constituent, we ask that you do your SACAC advocacy first, identifying yourself as a member of our organization, and then say something that clearly delineates that you're now speaking on your own behalf. Okay, I'm going to take off my SACAC hat, and I just want to speak to you on my own behalf as an individual. We definitely want you to be able to take advantage of that time that you're setting up to meet with your local legislator. So to identify your legislator, both the House and the Senate have tools to find your representative. You can go to flsenate.gov or flhouse.gov, and you can find links at the top of the page to find your representatives. We've also placed those links here. On the SACAC Hub, we have also located directories that include contact information for these representatives' hometown offices. This is where you come in. Once you've identified your legislator, and it can be your representative or your senator, it's your choice, you can use that directory to locate their hometown office and contact them to request a short meeting. Usually 10 minutes is sufficient, either with the representative, the legislator themselves, or with their policy director. They may ask you what issue or issues you want to talk to them about so they can be prepared. So just know that going into the call that they may ask you what topic you'd like to speak with them about. If you're not able to meet with them in person, ask them if there is another option for you to contact the legislator, and then you can do your advocacy in that alternative method. And here are just some tips for you in speaking with your legislator. Many of us, and in fact, I would guess that most Florida citizens have never directly interacted with their representative or with their senator. Many of us have never had the experience of contacting any elected representative and may not be sure in the best way to communicate with them. They're obviously very busy people and they speak with a lot of constituents. So you want to go in prepared and economize your use of their time. Whatever issue it is that you're going to speak with them about, make sure you know your facts. Do your research before you go into that meeting. Talk to Richie or me if you need some assistance in finding some supporting information. But then tell your own story. You are their constituent. They work for you. So make this personal and tailor your message to your particular legislator. If you happen to know what party they belong to, or what some of their priorities may have been in the past, or bills that they may have supported in the past, that can help you frame the message that you're going to send to them. Obviously, make sure that you're respectful and professional with them. We are advocating on behalf of SACAC, so you are representing our entire organization and all of your colleagues on all sides of the desk when you speak with them. And then after that meeting, follow up with them and follow up with us. Send us pictures if you meet with your legislator. Send us a recap of what your meeting is, and send us any concerns that you have that you would like for us to bring in person to the legislature when they are in session in February. NACAC has a nice advocacy toolkit online. You can see that link at the bottom of this slide that has a wealth of resources on how to plan these meetings and how to talk with your legislator. Two of the most helpful tiles on that page are tips for effective advocacy and the talking points section. But you can use a lot of that information to your benefit. When you do prepare those talking points, identify the problem. Be brief, explain the root of the problem and the context of the issue. This is where you can get personal. Talk about the impact. How does this issue or a lack of action on this issue affect people? Who is affected and how are they affected? And then offer a solution. Even if you don't have the skills or experience to put this into legislative language, you can express a possible solution in a way that the legislator can then take and put into legal language to make it a proposal. So identify that problem, explain how it's impacting you or people that you work for or work with, and then offer a possible solution. We've also provided a couple of ways that you can track bills in the legislature. Both the House and the Senate have step-by-step guides showing you how to set up an account, search for legislation, and then track that legislation on your own page. So you can just log into your legislature account and see the bills that you're tracking and see where they are in the process of the legislature. The session doesn't begin until January of 2026, so there is some time before you'll be able to fully track these bills. But in many cases, legislators are allowed to pre-file bills before the session begins in January, and you can get a sense of what your representatives may be proposing and keep an eye on those items. And then, as I mentioned, after the meeting is done, whenever that meeting occurs, send your recaps, your photos to Richie or to me or to both of us so that we can include that in a summary that we give to our entire group representing Florida. And then send us any concerns or issues that you'd like us to address with the legislature when we go to the session during February of 2026. And don't forget, you should have received an email to register for November 5th's Governmental Relations webinar. This is for our entire SACAC community and not just for Florida. We will have NACAC's policy director speaking on that webinar, and that's happening right in the middle of your Hometown Advocacy Week, which is November 3rd through the 7th. If you're not able to schedule a meeting during that week, that is our target week, but certainly feel free to schedule that meeting in November or later in December at a time that works for you and for your legislator, and to send us those recaps after that meeting is done. So that's all the information that we wanted to share with you today. I want to open up the microphone to Richie and see if there's anything I might have missed or that he'd like to add.
I just wanted to add a little bit of empowerment and validation to the work that we do. You all are subject matter experts in this field. You are interacting with students, families, each other across the desk. And so take some ownership in that and make sure that you're sharing your story with these legislators.
I agree, and that's why SACAC wants you to go and speak with your legislators, particularly in their hometown, so they start to see you as the face of our organization and, as Richie said, as subject matter experts. Our legislators can't be experts in every field, and they rely on advocates like us to provide them with on-the-ground, firsthand information about how these issues are affecting the citizens of our state. So that's all we have to share today. Thank you again for your time. You'll be able to find a recording of this webinar, the slides, and the documents that we referenced in this webinar on the SACAC Resource Hub. You can also keep an eye out for the What's Happening Wednesday emails and the periodic monthly emails that come out from Governmental Relations to keep an eye on how things are going during this legislative session and beyond. On behalf of Richie, please let us know when we can help you and what it is that you need from us. And we look forward to working with you in the future.